Noise department.
Like I just sipped it on the rocks with a little lime and I was like, oh my God, I felt like I was back in 2021 and life was simple again. And I was sipping tequila on the rocks like a crazy woman. And like all of that just came flooding back. Like the flavor was really there. It's like sense memory. It's like smelling your teenage boyfriend from far away, you know? It's like, yeah, these are dreamy little things.
This is Thirst Trap, a beverage industry podcast. And I'm your host, Tracy Bradley. So, as it turns out, I am today years old when I figured out that I do not know our guest today from my time as mascot of the fabulous Sin City Roller Girls. You could have knocked me over with a feather. This whole time, I thought that that's how I knew her. And I do not know her from that. I just know her from, where do I know you from?
That's what we were trying to figure out is, I think we deduced that it was through mutual friends and Motor City Cafe, New York Cafe, good old Scotty, may he rest, and that whole crew of, amazing, mostly surf dudes that we've been hanging with and around since I moved here in 2009. So, yeah.
So
I think it's just a super small town. We've managed to be friends that long. And of course, it just was effortless.
Yeah, it was. You make friendship effortless.
Oh, thanks.
And I appreciate that in a friend. You shouldn't have to work for that.
That's true.
So today our guest is Sarah Ryan Moses, and we are talking about mocktails today, which is a huge trend in the beverage industry. And I just think that it's something that's important that we talk about, because I decided when I started this podcast that I wanted to cover all beverages, not just alcohol, because there's people, not everybody drinks alcohol. And people like to be in the know still about what the latest trend is, whether it be alcohol or not alcohol. So welcome, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm great. Got a day off from bartending, so I could come and hang out with you a little bit, talk about mocktails, which has become, over the last couple of years since I quit drinking myself, just like 2 years and a couple weeks ago. I've, of course, delved into mocktails, so I have something to enjoy with friends when I go out. At first, it was a need for transition. It was literally a need to have something in my hand to sip on to fulfill that part of an old habit. And as it became less a need to fulfill a habit, it became more of a way to continue enjoying. And it is a culinary venture a lot of the time. I think about my cocktail making in that same sense. Mocktailing, we've been so lucky that more and more products are coming out that some are just straight substitutes, well-made alcohol-free versions of spirits that we know and love. Like Damrak Gin makes this virgin. It's the only thing they make besides their gin. They're fantastic. It stands up in a cocktail. And so like those little craving things, like I still once in a while crave a flavor. It's not about craving a feeling. It's not about missing getting drunk or imbibing. It's a flavor profile at that point. So it's like recreating a dish. It's the same thing. So that's been really cool. And it's awesome. I have more and more friends that are into it, whether they are just taking a little break or if they just don't want something alcoholic at that moment. Not everyone that drinks sometimes drinks all the time. So, yeah, this has been really fun.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely speak to that. I don't drink all the time. I drink.
And I know that about you too.
Once in a great while. And of course, my beloved does not drink. So, and that's how we discovered you and your mocktails pretty much, because we were at your place of work and you said that you could make anything on the cocktail menu into a mocktail.
And I mean, within reason, there's probably a couple things on there that we really would have to do kind of a riff or like a real basic idea. But like virtually anything on our standard cocktail menu can be made into a spiritless version. So that's been really cool finding those products that will substitute out and making those switches and, the non-alcoholic distillates versus just components. Like, it used to be that we didn't have a lot of stuff to make mocktails with. And then you have all these companies coming out with different versions of botanicals and just things, just flavor, just accents to put in your beverages. And they're well made and they're coming together so beautifully that we're actually able to make stuff that you get the spirit of the spirit without the alcohol.
I think that's so
Yeah.
awesome too.
And I'm glad that you were able to do that. I think I made you an alcohol-free painkiller and like you tasted them side to side. Like it really does stand up. Now we've figured out that there's some tweaks that have to be made with a lot of the products because again, they're not the same flavor. It doesn't have the same bite as your spirit bourbon is going to have, but that alcohol-free bourbon, say you just maybe have to use a little bit more, or you need to get a really strong black tea concentrate so you get that little burn and, that alkalinity in the back of, your palate that reminds you enough of the spirit that you get it. Yeah. It's been
That's
really
amazing.
cool to figure out too and like tasting things and like Russ, my boss at Red Dwarf, has been amazing about actually like getting in products that stand up in specifically our cocktails, but also that are just fun to play with. And a couple, honestly, we started out with a couple that I think we're going to be changing up because they aren't as shelf stable as you would expect. And so there was one, I don't even want to call it out because honestly, when I first tasted it, it hit me in such a positive manner that I insisted we get it, and it's like a version of a reposado tequila, quote unquote. And at first, like I just sipped it on the rocks with a little lime, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I felt like I was back in 2021, and life was simple again, and I was sipping tequila on the rocks like a crazy woman,
Yeah.
and like all of that just came flooding back. Like the flavor was really there. Now, all of this in a good way. This isn't gonna make me run off with myself and undo my choices. But at
Right.
the same time, yeah, it's like kind of cool to be reminded of those. It's like sense memory. It's like smelling your teenage boyfriend from far away. It's like, yeah, these are dreamy little things. And we just tasted it again. And I don't know if it's because the bottle has been opened and it's not marked that it needs to be refrigerated, but I think maybe it needs to be refrigerated or it just loses the botanical profile and the citrus that really made it so special in aging, just being open to air. So, actually, I'm going to open up another bottle of the same batch and see if it is the product or if
Mhm.
it's that it just needs to be a freshly opened bottle, which is unfortunate because
It
that's
is.
like, what do you get? Super small format of them. Like maybe some of these products do need to be packed in like a 2-ounce portion. So they are, you're always opening it fresh
Mhm.
when you're talking about capturing, botanicals essentially and like these little herb flavors that just really kind of exist in a moment. Like it's not held chemically with alcohol anymore. There's no alcohol in there to hold your spirit in place and freeze it in time. So they have to figure out other methods. And like yeah, so that's where I don't know a lot about I mean, I obviously know a little bit about what goes into spirit-free distillate making, but that's kind of what has been hard to wrap my head around is that these flavors are even more fleeting because they aren't held up in an alcohol base.
Yeah, so that's not preserved
Right. So it's
that way.
harder to get them to stand up and be their own flavors while intermingling with other flavors. So I've found that like black tea concentrate has been an exceptional component for mocktail making for me at home, like making basically quadruple strength Assam black tea. So it's nice, bitter, super strong, and using that as a substitute for like bourbon, making like a little old fashioned to sip on, but with like quadruple strength Assam black tea. Makes a really nice little kind of like a take on a bourbon mule too.
All right.
Yeah. So there's lots of things even in everywhere that we're putting in mocktails and making them a new thing because it's not just making a raspberry lemonade for the kids. This is something heightened and we want to keep that beautiful cocktail making idea there.
I feel like in such a short time even.
So short.
I mean, just like right pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
like right there.
I like
I feel like my daughter at her former job,
Mhm.
she was getting into mocktail making
Mhm.
and doing things like that, and then we were going along and then the world shut down there
Right.
for a minute.
Non-alcoholic beers too. Like
Yeah.
we are in this heyday of actually well-made and delicious and refreshing non-alcoholic beers. Like Bravis specifically, let's say they make this raspberry goza. And I think we weren't able to
What?
get it for a little while, but wow, it actually tastes like a raspberry goza. Like I've missed
Oh,
beer. I was a
I'm gonna need
beer
to try
girl.
this.
And like that actually hit a craving.
Okay, you just got my attention with
Yep.
that one. But yeah, I've been afforded the abilities to try a lot of non-alcoholic beers
Mhm.
because my
Athletic is another great company.
athletic.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have a huge selection too of like really intricately different, like specifically in the style of a pale ale, specifically in the style of a hazy India pale ale. Like,
Wow.
yeah, like very
Okay.
specific, not just like so Bravis does one that's oatmeal dark and
Okay.
really so it's like a light-bodied stout. And then they
Well,
have
I think my
their
husband would like that
IPA.
one.
We have it at Red
You
Dwarf,
do?
so next time you're
Okay.
in, we'll
Okay.
get you poured one of those.
All right.
Um, the raspberry Gose we haven't been able to get. I don't know if it's going out of commission. I mean, I'll have to ask,
Okay,
but
so we need to talk to the people that make that
yeah,
raspberry gosa and tell them to
Bravis.
please don't let it go away,
Yeah,
especially
make
because
that.
I need to try
It's
it.
delicious. It's so refreshing, and it's not just like so hop water has hit a, good spot too where like I think their product is delicious. It's especially delicious as a base mixer in a cocktail or mocktail. It's refreshing on its own. It really isn't just a flavored club soda.
Right.
The hops really are there. The terpenes really are there. You can feel them on your palate. So like that existing is great. And that is not what all these non-alcoholic beers are. They really are truly non-alcoholic beer.
I mean, I didn't I think I've heard of
Mhm.
athletics. Is this a
Athletic is pretty big. I would say they're probably the most popular other than like, I mean, the classics like St. Pauli NA and Milwaukee or Old Milwaukee NA. They've been around forever. Beck's
Yeah,
NA.
Bex.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen all of those. Pardon me, but even like Budweiser makes an NA now. Like I want to say almost every major brewery takes the time and energy to whether they're putting a lot of time and energy into it. Actually shouldn't say it like that, but like they're making the products because they understand that there is a want and need for them. So it's cool. I think like not drinking is just losing the stigma. Like when I was a kid and somebody's sipping on a non-alcoholic beer, it was like, oh, Uncle Paul, those are his non-alcoholic beers because he's an alcoholic,
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
can't have alcohol because he's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And there was this like just horrible stigma around choosing to not drink or even being an alcoholic. Like there's nothing wrong with being an alcoholic. Some
No.
people just are ill. I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I can't drink because of it. That's
Right.
what the treatment for alcoholism is. Had I been raised differently and it were not presented in such a negative light and made to be trashy or looked down upon, or I don't know that I would have fallen into alcoholism myself so easily. I think if I knew what I was looking at and I understood that it was not to be feared, suppressed, but understood and treated with one certain manner only, and that is abstinence, and to respect my Uncle Paul for his choosing to abstain from alcohol because he understood that he was ill.
Back in those days,
Yeah.
non-alcoholic beers did not taste very
Oh my
good.
God, right? They did not taste
They
like
did
beer.
not taste like beer.
And like the fact that they did exist even then is like because people need them, because people have a right to enjoy a beer. I think everybody does,
Right.
and that's part of mocktailing is like the camaraderie. It's that I don't want my friends that are choosing to not imbibe to ever feel uncomfortable coming to my bar. I don't want them to feel left out. I don't want anybody to think like, oh, I can't go out because what if I need to drink? I
Right.
need everyone to feel safe and empowered to make the choice to drink or not drink by themselves.
And then they trust you to know that the the drink that you hand them is the mocktail
100%.
and not the cocktail.
100%.
And I know that that's a fear too
I
in
know.
people. They're afraid to go to a regular bar,
Mhm.
places like this, because they're afraid that they ordered one thing and they they're accidentally going to get handed another thing.
Right. I think that every bartender owes it to themselves and all of their guests to maybe just be a little more careful and respect and understand that sometimes our fear of being served is going to override our want to go out at all. And there
Right.
have been places that it took me a while to go back to after I stopped drinking because I didn't necessarily trust my friends there to not pressure me or not even offer me a drink. Now I have on the flip side these great friends that I walk into their bar and within a week they were pouring me a club soda with a lemon and placing it in front of me and not even asking me what I wanted because they knew what I wanted. And they didn't leave me to a point where I would be fearful of possibly ordering.
My husband stopped drinking last year and we started mocktailing at home
Mhm.
because that's what he missed the most was the cocktail glass with the
Cocktail
ice.
hour.
Cocktail hour,
Right. And
everything
now there's
else.
so many more options for us to make beautiful things at home. You can make yourself a non-alcoholic, I mean, anything pretty much short of a Manhattan.
Mhm.
But at the same
Right.
time, you probably could make a riff on a Manhattan
Yeah, if I
because
got really
we've got
creative.
some non-alcoholic vermouths coming out. They're just like a funky wine, great for, layers of flavor because, yeah, just because 'cause we're not drinking alcohol doesn't mean we don't deserve delicious things.
Have you ever been to the usual place?
Yeah.
Okay, so last summer we were there, and I'm very good friends with the general manager, Carlos.
Mhm.
And I was like, is there a mocktail that you can make? He said, well, I can do a virgin mojito.
Yeah.
I didn't even miss, well, I'm not a rum drinker really anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't miss it. And I learned how to make the virgin mojitos for
Mhm.
us at home sometimes. Not all the time, because that does have simple sugar syrup in there and
Mhm.
blah blah. And
I actually make them with, monk fruit, so they're
okay.
sugar-free at home.
Oh,
Like, that's one
okay.
of ours in, like, rotation is, like, just yeah, fresh mint
Okay. Well, then
and
I'll have
lime
to
because
look
I
into that
have a
too.
couple. So I started getting into like stevia and monk fruit and figuring out which were the least evil because I had this regular who loved mojitos who was keto at Soul Belly.
Mhm.
And she came in at least once a week and she brought her own like Splenda packets and or stevia, whatever she was on that week.
Mhm.
And realizing like, oh wow, there's, like, nothing other than that, and, like, how delicious is this? And so it's just really the alcohol at that point, and she swapped for I think I made him with, like, the, effing cucumber vodka because it was probably the least amount of
Okay, yeah.
calories, And yeah, just like cucumber vodka mojito with no sugar.
Great.
Like we can anybody that wants to drink or not drink, like we can do it. I can do that as a mocktail or somebody
Whatever
that is
your
both alcohol
dietary
free and keto.
yeah, whatever your
What?
dietary restrictions
We
are, we
got
can
you.
accommodate you. Yes.
Yeah, we all have choices, so we shouldn't ever be made to feel a certain way or left out because of them.
No, absolutely not.
So I've really loved that renaissance of alcohol-free distillates becoming such a thing. Like Lyre's has been around for years. They've been known for their like coffee syrup primarily.
Okay.
But they make this like orange one. It's like blood orange, but it's not. It's what are they? Valencia, maybe
Oh,
Italian orange, I think is
okay.
what the name of it is.
Okay.
But it has a zestiness. It actually reminds me of the Valencia syrup that they used to have at Starbucks back in the day. It's like almost the exact same flavor. So you think of that. I use that in like this creamsicle kind of mocktail
That's awesome.
often too.
Okay, we need to go.
They make an almond one. Lyre's is great. They were so cool too when I posted my anniversary of quitting drinking.
I'm
I
so proud of
posted
you.
that I made a mocktail with their product and like they sent me 2 other bottles.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's just like how nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking a little about botanicals, and I think
Yeah.
botanicals is something that you know a thing or two about, right?
Yeah. So I do have a plant company. Like I grow and kind of distribute houseplants, mostly exotic things from the depths of jungles. I mostly have philodendron and syngonium. They're like super rare. I grow them from tiny babies. Some I get as big plants and cut down and grow into lots of other little plants. But I'm focusing more on renting plants to businesses and like installing plants and taking care of them in businesses for people that want plants but either don't know how to or don't want to take care of them themselves.
That's amazing.
My first client has been Yukon Pizza. I've had plants in there since they opened in December. And yeah, I just go in once a week. I have a planter out front too with flowers and like refresh that and keep it watered, keep their inside plants watered and growing into their shelves. And it's kind of the idea of they're going to grow into the shelves. Like it should hopefully cascade over the
Oh,
front window
wow.
eventually and be that like, or like New York City pizza shop. You go in and there's a big freaking pothos taking up half the window that's lived there since the 70s. And, you know, just somebody waters it every week.
That's amazing.
Everyone that is associated with UConn is just genuinely amazing pizza loving people. So
And
I have
that
no
pizza
doubt.
looks amazing.
It really is
It
like,
looks
that's
so
my
good.
favorite slice in town.
Okay.
Like, not to knock my own bar that
Yeah.
I freaking love, Red Dwarf. Like,
Yeah,
Russell, you
Russell,
got
we
our
love
heart. We
you.
love you. But heard this Yukon Pizza has the
Okay.
best slice in town.
Well, okay, because then that's some serious hype.
It's the
So,
rise, it's the
yeah, I
bubble,
mean,
it's everything. Like, I used to run the secret pizza at Cosmopolitan. I know what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
you do. Yeah.
Yukon has the best slice in town. But yeah, they rent plants from me. My next big project is going to be Russell, my boss at Red Dwarf, is opening up another bar. It's going to be a
What?
blues and jazz club called
Oh.
Fat Cat.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be over more close to like Fremont portion of downtown.
Okay.
And he wants plants. He wants plants hanging above his bar and he wants plants in his front window. And so I'm going to get him some plants.
Well, if he wants plants, then he should
He
have
knew
plants.
who to talk to.
Yeah. I think Russell knows who to talk to in pretty much any aspect of anything.
Like if
that
he can't do
does.
it himself, he knows
He knows a
exactly who to
person,
call.
yes,
and there's
absolutely.
very little he cannot do himself.
Now, Russell, I did meet as mascot for the fabulous Sin City Roller Girls.
No doubt.
Yep. I have a picture of he and I when we were just babies. Well, thank you so much for coming by today.
It's my pleasure.
This was great.
I actually think that I'm going to launch a mocktail sit down, if you will, like maybe a monthly meetup with like-minded individuals, whether it is at a bar or at a home, and bring together some like new ideas, components for sippables at home, maybe make a cocktail together, maybe do it in tandem with something else like, hey, I've got these plant problems. I don't know. But definitely a mocktail focused hang group. So I will keep you guys posted on that.
Please do. I think that we would really like that.
So yeah, I think that there are enough people and maybe there are enough bars that like we could find one that'll host us and like give us your signature mocktail. What else do you have here? And like almost create an omnibus of places in town that have mocktails and what they have and how accommodating they are being.
Yeah, we were shocked to find the Mob Museum. And my friend David is running it, or I think he still is. And he's like, Tracy, we have mocktails on our menu. I said, what?
Yeah, they have like several.
Yeah.
They are doing a great job.
Wow. I was blown away.
Yep. Yeah. And they don't make you feel strange when you are looking at the mocktail menu. That's another thing is I have never been made to feel less than or different or an inconvenience or anything for ordering a mocktail.
Right.
I want to say like Esther's has a couple exceptional. They had this one, it was like a caramel apple Ramos gin fizz, obviously without the gin, but holy shit, it was so good. And I know that thing was annoying to make and they didn't even act annoyed.
No, and they wouldn't.
It was great.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So just say everybody's getting with the program more and more.
And I love that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was great. This was lovely.
It was so fun.
And I'm pretty sure that everybody's getting an education today on mocktails.
Heck yeah.
For all of our listeners.
We have lots of great stuff at Red Dwarf for anybody that wants to come in and hang out. I'm there most day shifts, but everybody at night loves to take care of non-drinkers too.
Thanks so much. I'm Tracy Bradley, and that's the Thirst Trap Podcast. Produced and edited by Gonzo Greg Spillane for Noise Department. Our theme music is composed and performed by Jose Torres. Please like and subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcasts and share with your friends and associates in the beverage industry or anybody who drinks things. You can always visit and contact me at thirsttrappodcast.com, and you can find links to all the socials there as well. Till next time, cheers!